Hey, Prnka, you there? Okay, we are recording.
All right. Okay, well, here we go. All right, well, I'm Ryan Prnka. Most people just call me Prnka. And I coached FTC for 8 years, I think it is now, about 8 years. And then this year I took a year off of one more college classes, but hope to still be involved this year, maybe do some judging or do some inspection or something, because it is exciting. But Becca asked me to put together some thoughts on team judging. So I hope this helps, and feel free if you have any questions, ask. It is perfectly fine. I'm not an expert. I'll share with you what I always taught my teams. And it seemed to work pretty well. It seemed to work pretty good. And all right, so here's what I got. Okay, so I always told my teams, when it comes to team judging, it's your first impression. And so I was looking at some thoughts on first impressions, and these are some quotes that I found online regarding first impressions. It says, if you want to make a good first impression, smile at people. What does it cost to smile? Nothing. What does it cost not to smile? Everything. If not, smiling prevents you from enchanting people. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I think we've all heard that quote. And it says, people sometimes talk about the power of first impressions, and believe me, there is truth to it. And then this one here is the one I always liked for my teams. First impressions matter. Experts say we size up new people in somewhere between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. So I always did my best to prepare my teams. I would pull them aside before they even thought of going into the team judging room and get them in the mindset of, you are a team, you represent yourselves, you represent your team, you represent your school. And here is your chance. This is your time to shine, or it's your time to not shine. So it is up to you. But my team's always practiced. We always practiced our judging. And I would, there are some things that I will not share with you that I would tell them, because young men, like I'll tell you, it'll embarrass some of them if some of them ever watch this. I always made sure, because most of my teams were young men, teenage boys, your hair will be combed, your face will be washed, and you will brush your teeth before you go into that judge, because it is first impression. This is like a job interview. And we are going to take care of business, and we made sure we were properly groomed and ready. Shoes were tied, pants were around the waist and not droopy. We were standing up straight, no hats on their heads. It was time to take care of business. So first impressions are very important with it. What does this mean? This means be prepared, be happy, be positive, and enjoy the experience. I know some teams, some kids are very shy. They just are scared to death to talk in front of people. They're very uncomfortable with it. They don't feel smart enough. They feel a little intimidated, because here are engineers and computer scientists and STEM professionals and people as old as their parents or older, and it's just intimidating. And I always told my kids, you're the experts in the room. You're the ones who built the robot. You're the ones who programmed it. You're the experts, and the experts are speaking. You are speaking. You tell the judges everything you know, everything you did, and they will believe you, because you are the experts. Just like if you were sitting and they were presenting to you, they would be the experts. You're the experts in the room, so stand with pride, speak with authority and clarity, and enjoy it. If you practice with your teams enough and you just keep reiterating that to them, it will be truthful to them. they will start to believe it, and it's fact anyway. They're the ones who are the robot experts. That robot is a reflection of their skill, effort, design, time. It's all that way. All right, so this year, the team judging, and I would completely 100% recommend that you as a coach read the judge and judge advisor guide for FTC, but also require your students, your teams, to look through it. And later on in this presentation, I have the direct link to it so that you can easily download it. But the formal judging this year is 15 minutes total time. So your team has 15 minutes to make that good, positive first impression. The first 5 minutes of the judging time will be team controlled. According to the judge advisor guide, they are very strict and very stringent about 5 minutes and 5 minutes only that teams will have for formal presentation, team introduction. The first 5 minutes are the team's 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, do expect the judges to stop you, to interrupt you, and turn your presentation off. So you've got 5 minutes to sell yourself. You got a 5-minute sales pitch. During this time, there will be no interruption by the judges. Now, if your team in the judge advisor guide and judge guide, it does make mention if a team comes in and does not have a formal presentation ready, and they acknowledge that to the judges, then the judges will begin questioning and conversing with the team members. Otherwise, the first 5 minutes are strictly the team's 5 minutes to do as they wish. The final 10 minutes are reserved for questions and discussion led by judges. The judges may get up from the table and come around to the robot. They may sit at a table, they may stand, but the judges during those 10 minutes will have questions and will be conversing with the kids, so it'll be an exchange of ideas. This is a little bit new. I remember teams doing this before, especially I believe it was at state. I believe it was state last year and the year before was similar to this format. But in the past, there's been a little bit of wavering. I've seen qualifiers where they reverse this and do 10 and 5, things like that. But the manual this year, the guide is very strict on this. They want consistency, all states, all competitions to use this format. Okay. So what to do with the 5 minutes? Okay, this is where if I was still in the coaching game this year, I would sit down with each of my teams and we would have a timeline made out. We would have our 5 minutes scripted. What you must do during that 5 minutes are give the judges your engineering notebook and control award submission. If the engineering notebooks were not collected at inspection and team check-in, okay, that's a requirement this year. If they are not collected prior to the judging, then the teams bring their engineering notebook to the judging room, turn it over to the judges, and any control award submission if the qualifier, if the tournament is participating in the control award. Personally, me, again, first impressions go a long way in this business, regardless if the competition is having a control award or not. If your team is going to do one, do it. Every competition, every judging opportunity. You can always alter them, edit them as your programmer, as your autonomous becomes more complex, better. You can always update it and submit a new one at the next competition. But if your programmer can do one for the first qualifier coming up this month, then do so. It's a good impression on the judges. Show them what you got. And then a thing that I did with my teams, and this I recommended it to my teams, and I kind of let them have free reign with it. And I put a sample here. Is an informational brochure or pamphlet. Um, I dug way deep into my files and was hunting for one. This isn't the best one, but this was the one I could find using searches of brochure and pamphlet, because the kids sometimes name files that don't make sense to me. Um, but your team can hand the judges um, a simple little trifold pamphlet. There's templates in Microsoft Word. There's uh, and this year, this team, let's see, God, these kids have been out of the business now, I guess, 3 years. Most of these boys graduated in 2017, 2018. This was the year of the big cap ball, the velocity vortex. And the kids designed this. This was the outside and the inside, and it folded up. But you see, it's just pictures of them building, little information about their robot, their little team mission statement, where they're from, their jobs as team members, their little contact information. It was just something to help the judges remember them. And again, on this team particularly, um, there was one young man that this is what he liked to do. He's now a marketing and advertising major in North Carolina in college. This was his contribution to the team. He was the photographer. He was the publishing, printing person. He was the marketing, the advertising, the fundraising, coordinating, made sure the pits were set up, nice and decorative. That was his contribution. So he took pride in, doing these. And he would hand one to the judge, each judge, just as a way for them to remember them and to, again, maybe get a little information, know their names, know their number, and they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Judges may look at these pictures of them building and say, hey, I noticed that, what were you doing here and what were you doing there, and why does this robot not look like this robot? And they can start explaining design features and things like that. So it's just a nice little feature. Again, it shows the judges you're doing a little bit more. You're expanding your abilities, your skills. You're doing stuff outside the box, so to say. All right, so what to do with those 5 minutes? Okay, I believe in teams having a plan, a script for 5 minutes. When you go watch a theater show, when you go watch a play, when you go watch a musical, those people are professional. It is coordinated. It is planned. There is a script, but they know the script well because they've prepared and they've practiced. They know when to speak and what to say. I do not like them standing there, and. That drives me crazy. It's irritating. It shows lack of confidence. It shows lack of preparation. So I had my teams practice. We practiced and I would critique them. And sometimes I would step on their toes critiquing them, but it was because I loved them and I wanted them to do the best. So they need to know their lines. With this 5-minute plan, your team needs to know exactly what to do with those 5 minutes. Break it down by the minute. Minute 1 is team leader doing a quick introduction with names, number, school, followed by maybe a brief introduction on outreach or promotion or game strategy, whatever that person's skill is. Okay. If you have 5 people on the team, they all need to participate. But in that 5 minutes, you may not be able to get all 5 of them to speak a complete, so to say, presentation. So use your partners together. One thing I would do, I would always have a team member that was really good with robot design and would speak on the features. while he's speaking on the features of the robot, which is setting on the rolly box, you know, those wooden boxes teams often have, another team member would be turning the robot and positioning it so that whenever Alex was talking about the ball launcher, exactly, thank you, Elaine, the ball launcher, if Alex is talking about the design of the ball launcher from Velocity Vortex, then Gage would be turning the robot of the little wooden cart and positioning so the judges could see the ball launcher and be pointing. He would be the Vanna White while Alex is talking, you know, because you want to get those members involved and you want to use your time efficiently. And so have a plan. If you're going to do maybe 1-2-2, 1-2-1-1, you know, how are you going to break those 5 minutes down and write the script? Write the script. This is your team's chance to shine. Now, I will tell you this: when you have a veteran team like the J-Bots, for instance, Elaine, I mean, you got an awesome team there. The J-Bots, or when I had my Nuclear Wolves team versus my Cyber Wolves team. My Cyber Wolves team was always my JVC team. That was my freshman team. They were learning. They would be promoted and they would shine, but they knew that was my beginning skill level team. So if their strength was game strategy and outreach and promotion, then they would make sure to use a good piece of their 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever the strategy was that year, to promote their strengths. These 5 minutes should be promoting your team's strength. If your team's strength is programming and you got a programmer like nobody's business, then show off the programming. Have a trifold. And I wanted to get some pictures of my trifolds that my teams have used in the past, you know, the science fair kind of trifolds. You'll see them often at the events. And again, those are so important because pictures speak 1,000 words and pictures open up discussions and conversation. Judges can look at pictures and start inquiring and asking pictures. So you want good design, good layout, you know, take pride in those. But use your team's strengths. Whatever your team's strengths are, that should be these 5 minutes because you want it to be positive, positive, positive. Not about your failures or what you don't have, but what you do have. I always like for it to be a positive because, again, you're the experts. The judges only know what you tell them in that 5 minutes. So you want to, don't tell them about, oh, well, you know, everything's falling apart and the screws are coming out. Yeah, that may be true, but you know what that's called? That's called redesign and building. We are processing and we are building and we are redesigning and we are tightening up our nuts and bolts and we're adding nuts and bolts to make our robot more secure and more structurally sound. That's what you say. You don't say that my wheels are falling off and the back end's dragging on the ground. No, no, no. Always spin it positively. Because again, you're the experts in the room. They're receiving, you're giving. So give positive. But these are just some ideas that I put down. You know, I would always have each one of my teams look at lists like this and let's highlight on the goodness and let's break those 5 minutes down. And I want a script. We are not going in there reading a script because everybody in that room can read. We're not going to go in there and hold a piece of paper up in front of our face and read it, but we are going to know it like we are presenting a Broadway play. We are going to know what to say. And I learned that, honestly, I got to say, that's not a Prnka original. I learned that from Frostbite and from Schrodinger's hat. That's where I learned that. That was a strategy I inherited from them because if you want to be the best, learn from the best. And they were. I don't know if this YouTube will work or not, but if you have never seen this video, you have got to take 6 minutes and 7 seconds of your life and watch that YouTube video on Hotwired. Hotwired is I don't know if they're still around this year, but they are a gigantic top 10 team in the nation every single year. They were the 2014 World Champion Alliance captains. 2016, they were the Inspire Award winner. This is their 2016 World Inspire video. They practiced their judging interview. They practiced it and they filmed it. And this is the final filming of it before they stood in the room with the judges. So this is before they went to the 2016 World Championships and they were practicing their judging. They had a camera and they were watching each other and, you know, body language, posture, all of those things. I can't believe how much information, how much quality is in that 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Wow. It's like the robot version of the Gettysburg Address. I mean, Lincoln said so much in such a few amount of words. And Hot Wired here, I watched this with my Nuclear Wolves team. And I was like, whoa. And still to this day, I'm floored. But when you get a chance, watch that. Have your teams watch it. That's what you want to be: confident, knowledgeable, and highlighting the strengths, the positivity of your team. Okay. And speak with authority. You're the experts. Okay. During the final 10 minutes, okay, be prepared for popcorn talk. So there's going to be questions, answers, back and forth, popcorn popping. So be positive, be involved, and be ready, because everyone will participate, because the judges are going to open up conversation. They may notice something on one of your trifolds, the photos, and ask for clarification. They may ask something about programming. They may ask more about game strategy, outreach. Have your team members ready to respond. Like, for example, what I mean by that, my Nuclear Wolves team, if there was going to be a question given about community outreach or fundraising, Ryan Zabrowski would answer. He was the expert. He was my marketing, advertising, my business manager. He would step forth and speak with authority. If there was a question about robot design, Alex was going to address it. He was the robot design expert. If it was CAD drawing and redesign, reconfiguration of parts and materials, it was going to be Keith Seller or Isaiah, because they were our CAD 3D modeling. So they would step forth and show the 3D models and talk about how they drew it, they 3D printed it, they laser cutted it, whatever it was. They were the experts. If it was a programming coding issue regarding sensors, the autonomous programming, Gage Friesen steps forth. He's the programmer. Okay. So have those questions assigned when this comes forth. And if your teammates know that, they will study and be ready to practice with us. And I would even practice with the kids. We would do these judging, and then I would just start asking questions. And I expect the person to step forward. And everybody knows who, everyone knows who. And again, if it's about robot design, Alex would answer, and Gage would step forth and spin the robot and turn the robot or raise the ball lift or whatever the apparatus was. Have your associate, your helper, because everyone participates. Encourage the judges to come closer to the robot. If they're sitting at a table, encourage them to come up to the robot. Come and take a look. Judge, if you look down in here through the top, you can see this servo motor with this little swinging latch or something. You know what I mean? Get them up, get them moving, get them smiling. And if you don't understand a judge's question, ask them to re-explain. It's okay. Actually, if you look in the judge and judge advisor guide, it's written in there, because again, these are technical, lots of times engineers, programmers, STEM professionals, they may use terminology that you're not familiar with as a 15 to 18-year-old. It's okay to ask them, I don't quite understand what you mean. I think if you're talking about this, you know, and give them an explanation, but, you know, and then ask them, is that answer your question or something else? I'm just not quite understanding. It's okay to do that. That's really, really important. And you can bring in those trifolds, those science fair trifolds, and showcase your outreach, showcase your STEM community connections, your business plan, your volunteer hours, your CAD drawings. My CAD designers, I was always fortunate. Keith Sellers and Isaiah Bazon were my CAD designers. And wow, I wanted them to showcase their CAD. I'm like, put pictures, big quality pictures. I want to see it because I'm amazed. Showcase your talents. Again, if you don't show somebody, how they gonna know? So you gotta toot your own horn some. One thing I'm really big on, and I should have said this at the beginning, because again, my teams a lot of times were young men. I had ladies every now and then, and I always taught the ladies the same thing about combing your hair, brushing your teeth, washing your face. But normally you don't have to tell young ladies that. You have to tell the 16-year-old boys that, unfortunately. But I always believe, and I'm still to this day, and I'll go to my dying deathbed, you shake a person's hand. I do not like the fist bumps. I don't like the high fives. I know it's all about the hygiene, the fist bumps and this and that. I don't care. If I'm building a connection with the person, I'm going to shake their hand. And I also taught my young men and young ladies how to shake hands. It is not a limp rag or a wet dog. Grab a hold of that hand and shake it with authority and mean business. Mean business. This is your chance. Okay. And most of these STEM professionals are still of the other generation. They are not the Facebook generation that do fist bumps and high fives every day. They are shaking hands. Teach your children, your team members. I called them children because most of the time I felt like I was raising them. Teach them how to shake hands. Teach them how to shake hands and how to look somebody in the eye when they shake their hand with authority. My God, when I was in grad school, we practiced shaking hands in one of our classes where we were writing research grants. We practiced shaking hands because when you sit down at the table with somebody with $250,000 research grant or bigger and you shake their hands, that can be a first impression and a last impression. Shake with authority. And we would shake people's hands on the way in the door and out the door. And of course, always say thank you because we do appreciate their effort. The other thing about judging that is really important, and it's a strategy I used. And you don't have to use any of this stuff, but this is a strategy I always used because my teams had experts. I always had experts. I had an expert for fundraising, outreach, coding, programming. You know, I had my experts. Be prepared for PIT interviews. Okay, PIT interviews are huge. I always told my young men and young ladies, the PITs are not off limits. The PITs are an extended judging room. I expect you to use proper language, proper etiquette, proper behavior at all times. This is your chance. You can either make it or break it. We're either, if we win, it's because of you, and if we lose, it's because of you. This is your competition. I am a facilitator and a mediator, but that's all I can do. So PIT interviews. Why I put this phrase down here, stay together, judge together. What I mean by that is when I see this a lot at tournaments, teams, as soon as they get down in the judging room, they disperse. They scatter like ants. And when the judges come to the pits, your team has had outstanding regards or remarks by the judges for their outreach and their volunteer and their promotion in the community and getting younger kids involved and this and that. And the judges really want to talk to you about that. But the kid who coordinates all the volunteer efforts and coordinates all that is running down the hallway with the earbuds in, listening to music and goofing around instead of being with the team. So that was something I always told my teams is you stay together, you judge together. If you need to go to the practice field to run your autonomous trials, then everyone goes. Because if the judges come by the pits and they want to talk to you about fundraising or something, and only the programmer is sitting in the pits, the programmer can wing it, but that's all they can do is wing it. Okay. So we stay together, we judge together. If we're going to the practice field to do our autonomous rounds, we all go, and those who are not participating necessarily, they behave themselves. They keep the earbuds out of their ears, because when the judges come up, I want you to be able to hear with both ears, not with one. And you be prepared. When you go to the game field to play, the drivers, the team coach goes down, other these judges need to be able to get to you. If you are sitting on the 25th row up and your other team members are down on the playing field, it sure is dadgum hard to judge together and stay together. So be readily accessible. It's just a little thing, one of my little nuances that I just always express to my teams is stay together, stay together. If you got to go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom, but you better come right back and wash your hands, because we got to shake hands. So that's just something, because PITS interviews are huge. And, with those trifolds, you can put those in the pits, and those can speak to judges. Those can speak to judges. And you can use them as explanations. So to say, you can point to them, you can highlight them. Okay. I always told my teams, you take pride in those things. Take pride in those. Those are instrumental tools in the judging process. But stay together, judge together. It was a big deal for me throughout the tournament. Plus, I don't know, you just build camaraderie. My teams always wanted to feel like brothers and sisters, not just teammates. Okay. And now for the judging resources. So all this stuff I've spoke on and where you can get some good, valuable stuff. You don't have to look far. FTC First does a great job. If you use their resources, you're going to be good. You're going to be good. This right here, the Judge and Judge Advisor Guide, this is the link, the PDF file. It's, what is it, 65 pages, I think is what it is. I think it's about 65. Yep, it's 65 pages. You don't need all 65 pages. I went through it over the weekend and yesterday, and I actually read it cover to cover. It's a quick read, but I read it cover to cover, and I was looking for specific things for teams, okay, and pages to review. Pages 15 to 17 are huge. They are the most important sheets in there for a team, because it has the engineering notebook formats and the engineering notebook self-assessment sheet link. Okay, if you want your team to be legitimate, to be taken serious, to even be considered for any kind of award or any kind of recognition or anything, that engineering notebook has got to be as important as the robot itself. And I have had many teams whose notebook I felt was better quality and more prize-worthy than their robot, okay? Especially my young beginning teams. I cannot say it enough. Those young beginning teams, they really don't know what to do. So if you teach them properly how to build a notebook, how to be meticulous to design, they'll do it as freshmen. And then when they're sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they just think that's normal. Everybody's doing that. And it'll go bigger and bigger. I mean, I can name kids by first name, last name, who I really stressed the importance of. You're the notebook person. You're the notebook boss. If the CAD drawers don't give you what you want, then you go yell at them. And you go tell them, stop and give me the drawings so I can insert them and we can get them labeled and numbered and signed. You are the notebook boss, because every award is going to tie back to that notebook. It's about the journey. It's not about just showing up and being the best robot. It's great to be the best robot. It's fun to be the best robot. But you gotta have the notebook. You gotta have the notebook. And you take pride in that. I mean, it's like a school yearbook. What fun is it to look at a yearbook that looks like, I don't know, it's been drug up out of the mud puddle and chopped up 15 million times, and there's missing pages and this and that. You're not going to reminisce about the good old days looking through that. So the notebook format, look at that and really take pride, because the judges will have the notebook and they want to see the process. They want to see all of that. And again, that's a way for you to shine. That's a way for you to showcase everything: your fundraising, your marketing, your advertising, your outreach, your volunteer, your game strategy, your control word, everything's there, right there. When I told you about practicing with your teams on judging session, page 43, Appendix B, is a list of sample judge questions. I myself have done FLL judging, and when they give us the list of sample judge questions, I often use it. I start with those questions and then expound and ask more intuitive questions as the team starts giving me insight on their building process, their robot side, whatever it is. Have your teams practice with those questions. You yourself use those questions on your team. What are you going to say? How are you going to do? And after they answer that question, it's going to lead to another question. Hit them with another one and get them to practice speaking and doing that judging process. I really like Appendix D, these pages 47 to 49. This is a team self-reflection sheet. After a judging interview, after a tournament, after pit interviews, have your team look at this and really be reflective. What did we do well? What did we do really, really well? And what did we just think on? And look at ways of how can we fix that? How can we improve? What can we do better? What should we do the same? Look at that, because, and again, this requires the team to be very honest with themselves, because this is self-reflection, but this is a good tool that teams have. They can even use this after they do a practice judging round. They can do this. And then
I have a question on that, if that's okay.
I'm sorry?
I have a question about that. So your self-reflection sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I'm going to have my team, I didn't know about that. So tomorrow we have a meeting. I'll have my team do that in relation to the league meet we just did on Saturday, because my two rookies, that was their first event. So if they do something like that, do you then take those sheets and put that in the engineering notebook under the entry for the team meeting tomorrow?
I would.
Okay.
And because that shows to me as a person, if I'm sitting on the other side looking, I'm looking at that and saying, hey, these kids took time to evaluate their own self. They took thought, they made insight, they want to grow, they want to improve. And to me, that's huge. When you can self-assess and you can be honest with yourself, what went good, bad, and ugly, it's valuable. That's growth. That's maturity. So I would most definitely,
Okay.
I would have them do it. And then Appendix E is the engineering notebook self-assessment. This is really nice because it has a checklist, so to say. It has a checklist. So, and you'll see, you can't really see here, but it's just little checklist, and it shows was the particular items, like one, for instance, on recommended notebook is divided into sections, including a section that describes the engineering process, a section that describes the team, outreach activities and individual goals, and then a team plan. A team plan. And a team plan may be inclusive of game strategy, a business, a fundraising plan. It may include like goals and ambitions for the year. Like, we are going to fundraise $1,000 to pay for all of our entry fees. This is how we hope to do it. It's kind of like a yearly progress. It's a plan, or it can be outreach. We plan on 100 hours of community outreach, volunteering FLL teams, and then, keep a ledger in there. But they're looking for those sections, the engineering content, the team information, but this is here for them. And again, you read these bullet points and then expand. So it says, there's a formatting suggestions, creative cover, team photo, etc. Okay, Ryan Zabrowski for the Nuclear Wolves. The cover, the front, the back, and the spine of the 3-ring binder, Ryan Zabrowski would coordinate and design it, and that was his thing. We're going to have cool. If they pick up our notebook upside down, right side up, they're going to get some information. They're going to get some good pictures. It's going to lead to discussion. We're going to showcase what we do. Even the inside covers. Ryan Zabrowski was like, there's an inside cover. I'm going to put something there. Stickers, pictures, the questions. So when you read these, entries include pictures, drawings, and text as applicable. Also make sure your teams are taking a look at this. If something's missing, or always ask yourself, what can I do to make it better? What can I do? My teams also like to use Google Docs, Google Drive, and do the electronic notebooks. That way they could share and everyone could participate and put it in. We even figured out a way how to electronically sign the pages, so we didn't have to ink sign them every time. We electronically signed them. So that was kind of cool. I can thank Ryan Zabrowski for that too. All right, and then the FTC Judging Forums. This is, I don't know. These are hidden forums, actually. These are hidden forums. Everyone always asks questions about game rules and game strategy and scoring points. Very few people ask questions on the forums about the judging process, but there's actually 2 forums. And here are the links for them. I actually was reading through these over the weekend, just curious what teams are asking about judging and things. But how does the judging process work? So specific questions that teams may have. And then the judging process itself. How do judges come up with the winners? How do they assess? What are they looking for? And there was one question on here, I believe, I don't remember which one was, a team is like, well, what do I do? What do we do if there's 15 members on the team? Because that's the maximum. And the judge guide says everyone should participate. Well, in 5 minutes, 15 people really can't talk. And so, like, would we be disqualified? Or there was a question about if we have 15 people on a team, do all 15 people have to go inside the judging room? What if we can't comfortably fit and get our, can we just send in 4 or 5? So if you have questions, ask. I've seen teams bring in laptops to judging. My teams have brought in laptops before to showcase their CAD with the rotating, exploding models. If you wonder about some of that stuff, feel free to go to these forums. Feel free to post a question. They're great about asking. And judging is your first impression. It is your first impression. And Pitt's interviews, to me, are just as important, because you can change the mindset of a judge from this, just like that, good or bad. You can do so much with it. Okay. And I think, I think that is it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to really share. I can't think of it. But does anyone have any questions? Any ideas? Anything that your teams have done that set them apart?
I actually have a question. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me?
A little bit.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can filter this. Anyway, if you can hear me, hopefully. So you said a lot about kind of with the notebook specifically, kind of having it look nice on the front, back, kind of spine. What do you think that there's like a pretty big like positive effect of like team branding on the judging experience? like having a specific kind of like aesthetic or brand, that kind of thing? Do you think that's a good thing to have for a team?
Without a doubt, Toby, without a doubt. You know, I came from Texas. Every time I see the star, I see any star, I think Lone Star State and go Cowboys. My Nuclear Wolves team, my Cyber Wolves team, and my Phantom Wolves team. I cannot say it enough. Your logo is yours. Brand it, Toby, brand it. You know, our color schemes, you know how you drive up to a store, you see a logo, you see the Nike swoosh, and all you have to have is a swoosh. And you automatically know Nike, Michael Jordan, all of the big name athletes. You think of everything Nike. Brand your team. Pick team colors. My 3 teams, their colors, they chose. Their logos, they created. That's again where, don't ever think that a person who's interested in business and accounting and marketing and advertising and journalism doesn't have a place in robots. They have a huge place in robots, okay? Because they're your business mind. And let's be honest, most people who are like programmers and really big engineering, they really don't know anything about marketing and advertising. They don't know how to talk to people. Ryan Zabrowski, Ashley Shine, a little girl that was on my Phantom Wolves team, my gosh, they marketed their teams. They created their sweatshirts, their logos, their buttons, their stickers. Everywhere they were putting the banners, everything. They would just flood the area with their colors so that teams knew them, knew who they stood for, knew who they were dealing with. Oh yeah, I can't say it enough. I always feel bad for teams whenever I go to tournaments and they do team t-shirts, because judges can't easily pick them out and approach them. My Nuclear Wolves purposely picked bright yellow and bright blue because they went to super regionals their sophomore year. They went to super regionals and they were gray and blue. They were our school colors. I couldn't even pick out my own kids in the crowd when they were playing matches because they were wearing gray t-shirts with blue letters. We came home and we changed everything gray to banana yellow and plastered everything with yellow. And it works. It works because people start seeing you. And if
Toby,
you're going to get noticed.
I'll chime in with that too. There's a great webinar that Vicky, it's about half the webinar, but it's in this coach series. So it's on the training page on the First in Alaska website. And she talks all about what goes into marketing. She also makes a recommendation that, you know, that's a great place for mentorship too. Like find somebody in town that's their background and work with them on branding. And I mean, even think about it, like our experience, your experience in Juneau, when you think about the Juneau tournaments and you think about the teams that are there, you can probably like, who do you remember? And it comes back to how well they've branded themselves and what they wear and how, you know, their team attitude, that stuff all comes back into how recognizable they are. And it's down to like what fonts you use. That's part of building a brand.
How hard is it to share a screen?
It's easy. If Prnka can, he just has to stop sharing his, and then we can have.
Okay.
So let me show you what we do. Share.
Somebody show me how to do that. Oh, stop share. There it is. Okay.
Okay. Right. Go down to the bottom and. There we go.
Can you guys see that?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not only do we have specific fonts, so we do titles in GeoSteam, we do sort of titles and so on in Copperplate Gothic Bold, but red isn't just any red, it's 25500 red. And orange is 255-130. And we kept the red, yellow, green, blue from our days as Brickmasters. And then we just filled in this orange is Lego orange from the first colors that they use. and then we added purple to make everything add up. But everything that we do is done this way. So when we do banners, or we just did business cards,
Very
and
nice.
we used those exact colors to make sure that everything is exactly the same. So
Yeah.
and I always say it's not about the robot, it's about other things. It's about learning how to brand well. When you join a company, Google, McDonald's, whatever, they have this kind of a document because it's not just any blue or any gray, it's a very specific one. So that's something you might want to design as part of your logo. And then once you have it, you just publish it like this and you stick to it. And we do everything in this. We do our trifold in this. We do our engineering number in this, engineering notebook in this. And my kids know you can't just use any color. So
Right.
that's helpful.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Elaine. That's it, Toby. It sets you apart. It's you up from and it shows that you're involving business in this, not just a robot. So it's valuable. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. That's my question definitely answered. Super.
So we are coming up on time. Any other questions, Malona? Any questions? Alexa, you can chime in if you have any questions.
I do have some questions. It may be not be part of judging, but what I'm hearing, by the way, we are rookie to this field. That's the first year, and like what I've said, never had an experience, but we're doing this. Kids were having so much fun. They love it. It's kind of overwhelming though for the new coach. It is really, and with the drawings and everything. But I was wondering about the inspection. What's going on during the inspection time? Can you give me something about it?
Oh yeah. What the teams go through inspection. Has your team gone to a competition yet?
No.
Okay. So let's see. Oh, okay. I believe it's in the game manuals. I don't remember if it's game manual 1, part 1, part 2, but in this year's game manual, there are inspection checklists. And what you can do to quickly find them, just have one of your kids do like FTC Skystone, since that's this year's game, FTC Skystone, like inspection checklist. Do that as a Google search. It'll come right up. It's usually a PDF that they can download, print out. And the robot's checked for size and dimensions to make sure it's of the correct size. The motors are checked. The servos are checked. Sensors are checked. They look for sharp edges. If anything could maybe snag or get cut or scraped on, and tape it up. So I see you, Elaine, up there, and put some tape on it. They check for wiring to make sure the wiring looks safe. Nothing's going to come loose, or a wire is maybe hanging out that could get snagged by another robot. They go through a robot inspection to make sure that everything's good and fair. And then they do, I guess we call it a software inspection. They take the robot all over to the game field and make sure that the software on the robot is up to the correct version, the latest, greatest version. They make sure that it's running. So, they'll check the robot with the remotes, make sure it drives around, test out an autonomous, make sure that it's functioning is what it is. And there's two parts to the inspection. There's the robot inspection, and then there's the software inspection. And the usually 2, maybe 3 members of the team goes with the robot. And if they don't pass inspection, they get told, oh, well, go put some tape on this, go fix this wire, and then they go and fix it and come back. Yeah. and there's always people there to help them. There's always other teams will help. The inspectors will help them. You know, anytime I inspect, I always try to have duct tape, electrical tape, something like that around.
Cool. Thank you.
I think also just a big thing there, oh God, I'm not in mute, is to do that self-inspection sheet with your team before you go in. And I would do it before you travel. And then since you guys are going to have to pack your robot up in a box and take it out, definitely do that, go through it again once you get into Anchorage for the qualifier. That looks nice.
Yeah, we have a student, we have our pinch intake, and it's when it oh my God, it's go beyond the required size. So they go back again and okay, we're gonna change this. And
yeah, it's a big, and you just, I mean, it's heartbreaking to have a team come to an event and be oversized and have to make like really dramatic changes that really keep them from being competitive, even though they had a solid robot before they showed up. So
yeah,
keep re-inspecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Every day, like at the end of practice, do an inspection and really be thorough and detailed, and it'll give you, so to say, before you go too far in your changes, and then you are way oversized.
So just a couple things that I heard in Prnka's that I also, from just being around for a while, I've heard to make sure you practice taking video of your team and watching that with the team, and using that when you're doing the self-reflections, I think is really useful. That confidence of going in and being the experts and framing things positively. You know, there's so much self-deprecation, and I think we're raised to not be full of ourselves and arrogant, but there's a difference between arrogance and that positive framing. And the judges are going to remember how you frame your things. And then the second is really to own your team strengths, and to focus on those. Katie Johnson talked about it when she was up this summer, as did Emily, and they were a World Inspire Award winner. They weren't focusing on a formula to win, although, you know, you could say that this is part of that. They were really just saying, this is our team, and this is what we're so excited about, and being themselves in front of the judges. So I do think that's really important, to get back to what you enjoy about the season, what your team is really focused on and doing well at, and focusing on that and sharing it. Making sure you're checking all the boxes while you do it, but bringing it back to that focus. And then to approach the judging sessions like you do your robot, like those trifolds and the poster board, that's your CAD drawing. That's how your team is organizing their information and preparing your presentation. And it's important to go through that together as a team and have people specialize on that too. But all the prep that's going into that, like, you're not going to throw a robot on the field without coming up with some set strategy and building around that. You're doing the same exact thing for your judging presentation, and you're going to go through iterations preparing it, and you want to go through a lot of test driving before you get in there in front of the judges. So I mean, that's like all the things that are going into the mechanical engineering practice should be going into the judging and the communications practice too. And then just thank you, Prnka.
No problem.
So miss having you around, and it's nice to see you on web.
Well, keep me in mind, the November 22nd, 23rd, I won't be able to be there. I've got, my wife and I have our last adoption class on the 23rd. So then we'll be eligible to inherit children.
I can't wait.
And so I won't be able to be there, but you put me down for, isn't there a qualifier in December, January, when there one?
Yeah, December 6th, 7th, and then championship is February 7th, 8th.
Okay. And because is Steve still in charge of judging in that?
Yep.
So I need to get a hold of him and make sure I'm eligible.
We'll see if you can pass the test.
I hope so.
Okay, any final questions?
No, this was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah,
Absolutely fabulous. Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Prnka.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye.